Hi, this is Leslie. Hope you're well, and welcome to another update on Bitcoin. So this is my second video of 2020, and believe it or not, I was not planning to make a video tonight because as I'm making this video right now, it is 10:47 GMT UK time. So I wasn't really planning to make a video at this time of the night. The reason I'm making this video right now is because there's something very interesting I'm seeing on the chart here of Bitcoin. Before I tell you about something important that could happen here on Bitcoin, potentially in the next few days, maybe the next few weeks as well, let me just draw your attention to this chart first. This is the chart of Bitcoin last year and at the beginning of 2019. Now, here's why I'm looking at this chart right now. You see, guys, at the end of 2018 and at the start of 2019, a very interesting pattern emerged on Bitcoin, which I think is repeating right now on the chart of Bitcoin. So what we're seeing right now on the chart of Bitcoin is very similar, in my view, to what happened to the chart of Bitcoin last year, and I would say the beginning of 2019. Take a look at this chart and you'll see something. Again, this is the drop in the price of Bitcoin in 2018 that we can see here. So major drop, as you can see here. Again, in my view, capitulation occurred on Bitcoin back in 2018 right here. Then we had a bounce. Now here's what's interesting. Notice that as the price of Bitcoin crashed into the 3,000, almost 3,100 region here, we also saw something else too. The drop in volatility. Notice the volatility on the ATR here, ATR 14 setting. Volatility dropped, continued to drop further. And as I mentioned before, guys, you may recall my video from December, I think it was, when I said we need to see Bitcoin losing volatility. Okay, so you want to see the volatility in the average true range drop significantly. So that's the first important thing I'm looking for. I want to see volatility dropping. Huge drop in volatility. So that's very important. Here's the second thing. The second thing you'll notice here, apart from the drop in volatility, the second thing is the fact that Bitcoin started to make this resistance structure. So it built a structure of resistance around this area, 4,100 approximately. Okay, so this 4,000, 4,100 area here that you see in this blue line, I can just draw that one more time here, as you can see, became very important for Bitcoin. Notice how many times Bitcoin tested this area, 4,100. Again, notice once, twice, 3 times, and finally it broke this level with this huge price bar here. And this price bar actually broke the resistance structure and started the major rally, the major, again, skyrocketing, surging rally in Bitcoin that we saw in the spring of 2019 that we see here. Okay, so I think we could be on the verge of something similar, perhaps in the coming weeks, provided we break a similar structure of resistance like we did in 2019. By the way, something else also happened in 2019 is this. Notice that the cycle of power, this indicator you see here, it went from extreme oversold, this shaded area here, this dark shaded area here, it went then into the positive territory here, and more importantly down here. Again, when we see cycle of power going into the green zone followed by the break of structure, that can often also be a very bullish signal there. Also followed by volatility, again, losing its strength. So let's go over here. So I'm looking at a chart of Bitcoin right now. Again, I'm making this video on the 6th of January at 10:50 GMT UK time. By the time you're watching this video, the price of, again, the chart may have changed slightly, but I don't think it's going to change that much. But here's what I'm looking at. Notice, again, something very interesting on this chart, that after this huge drop that occurred in the price of Bitcoin, as we saw in 2019, into this level, what we saw here is a false breakout. Now, this is very interesting. Notice that Bitcoin makes one low here, okay, one low. Then it comes back about a month afterwards in December, breaks that low, and then quickly rallies off. Again, in technical analysis, I'm sure you probably know, this is called a false breakout. A false breakout of support, okay, a false break of support in technical analysis is often a bullish signal. All right, guys, let me just repeat that. It's very important. A false break of support, of supporting structure, is often a bullish signal. And this is exactly what we had so far, as you can see here. Notice that Bitcoin breaks the prior supporting level, okay, by a few points and then quickly rallies off. In my view, that is a classic false break structure. Okay, now, apart from the false breakout of support, which seems to have formed a sort of a double bottom formation perhaps here, possibly, if we break the next resistance, then we also have divergence. So notice we have positive divergence on the chart. Okay, so we have, as you can see here on the chart here, a positive divergence signal. Okay, so what does that mean? It means Bitcoin makes a lower low, but the momentum on the divergence makes a slightly higher low, causing a divergence, in this case a bullish divergence. We also have the cycle of power going from, again, shaded area of oversold, so oversold from red going now into the green zone. So notice that the cycle of power is going from oversold red into the green, and something else, volatility. Okay, so volatility has dropped also dramatically. So since my video back in December, we've seen volatility continuing to drop lower and lower, okay, which is what we want, because I mentioned back in December, we need to see volatility dropping significantly, just like we saw in previous major bottoms, like we saw, for example, in 2019 and 2015 and so on and so on. So what I'm looking at right now is a key structure of resistance on Bitcoin, which is at this level here. You will see that similar to what we saw in 2018, 2019, we're seeing this level here at 7760 becoming important now. We've tested this level now almost, I would say 2 or 3 times. You might call that maybe a third time. But it looks like this level is going to be very important here. Again, we've tested this level once, twice, 3 times almost here. And now we're approaching this level again. Now, again, remember guys, Charlie's rule. If you recall my good friend Charlie, he mentioned a very important rule. The more times price comes to test a key level, the more likely it is that it's going to break it. Charlie calls this pebbles on a pond. So this is now probably the 4th time we're visiting this level of resistance. You might want to say 3rd or 4th time. But I think on the balance of probabilities, it looks like we might actually break this level. Maybe in the next few days, maybe next few weeks, who knows? But it does look like we're coming close now, guys, to potentially breaking this level. It might be sooner than later. Let's see how the week closes. It might actually be the case that we might break this level to the upside. But here's the bottom line, guys. I'm going to make it simple. If Bitcoin breaks resistance, and you may remember, guys, in my previous video that I published just a few days ago, I said if Bitcoin breaks a key resistance, we could actually confirm the pattern I showed you. I showed you in the previous video that the momentum on the weekly chart is beginning to lose momentum. The weekly momentum is going from negative to less negative, so that's often a bullish signal. If Bitcoin now breaks this level of resistance that we're seeing here on this chart, again, this is the level I'm looking at here, 7760 approximately. If Bitcoin manages successfully to break and close, again, we want to see the price bar closing above that resistance, okay? If we can close above that level of resistance, this increases the probability that we could go into a bullish phase on Bitcoin, quite a strong bullish phase, in fact. So anything above this level, so just to make this very simple, so anything above the 7760 level here, for me, is bullish, okay? If Bitcoin can cross the border and go from beneath this level, from this zone, into the upper zone here, above 7760, in that zone, I would be very bullish, in fact. I think that Bitcoin could start a major bullish rally here that could take us quite significantly higher. Now, I want to be very careful here because some of you might be asking, well, hang on a second, Alessio. How do we know that this won't be another false breakout or another false rally like we did in, back in October, November, right? Because in October, we had a similar sort of rally like that. This ended up failing, right? So how do we know that this next breakout, let's say the next breakout caused a rally like similar to October, right? So you might well ask, and it's a very good question, how do we know that the next rally won't end up being a failed rally, a false breakout like that? Well, here's the thing, guys, we don't know. There's no way we can know possibly that the next rally is going to be a failed or a successful rally. The bottom line is, guys, as I'm sure you probably know, this is a game of probabilities. There are no certainties, there's only probabilities. So bottom line is we don't know if the next rally is going to succeed or fail. Let's see what the price tells us. And there are ways we can actually find out if the rally is going to succeed or not. So just to be clear, if Bitcoin can successfully break above this level of resistance, again, this level I mentioned here in this video, if we can close above that level and remain above it, I'll be bullish. All right, guys? But below this level, I'm not interested. So anything in this zone, let me just draw that here on the chart. Anything in that blue zone that I've just drawn here, I'm not interested. If we can get above that level, okay, and stay above that level, so anything in this zone here, I would be bullish. Also, just to mention here that it seems we're forming a sort of a higher low here on the chart. I mentioned this before here. We need to see a higher low. Then, once the volatility has dropped, I want to see a higher low on Bitcoin. Again, a higher low is a significant sign of a brand new uptrend developing. Similar to what we saw at the beginning of the year in 2019. And it does appear that we're beginning to form the signs of a higher low here on Bitcoin. And if this can break out to the upside, this could actually initiate the signs of an uptrend and perhaps the next major bullish phase in Bitcoin at the wild card scenario that I mentioned previously.